It was 4:02 a.m. when Arohi Maida heard the knock. Sharp, repeated, desperate. She didn't usually answer the door that early, not even in her penthouse suite above Mumbai's elite skyline. But something about the rhythm, the insistence in it, made her pause. She walked barefoot to the door, silk robe trailing, hair messy from sleep. She opened it, and there he was. Tired, wet from the rain, holding a crying baby. Please, he choked, voice hoarse. I'm sorry to bother you. I need some milk. For her, she hasn't eaten in hours. Bro blinked, stunned. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Cheekbones hollow, shirt half soaked, and that little bundle in his arms, barely a few months old, wailing so loudly it hurt. You don't live here, she said slowly. I thought this floor was vacant. The lights were off. I just tried my luck. Rahi stared at the baby. Her instincts roared louder than her logic. Come in, she said. He hesitated at the door like he didn't believe her, but the baby cried harder. Stare. And so he stepped in, shivering, apologizing with every breath. I'm sorry. I'll pay. I swear. Just needed a bottle or anything. I ran out of formula. I walked past him into the kitchen. You don't need to pay me, she said. How old is she? At 2 months, he said. Her name's Tara. Proe opened the fridge. She didn't have baby formula, but she had a plan. She turned back to him. Give her to me. He hesitated. I don't even know your name. It's Bri, she said. She said, and I'm not going to hurt your child. If you want her to stop crying, let me help. I've done this before. He swallowed hard, then passed the baby over like she was made of glass. And something shifted the moment Rohi held Tara in her arm. The crying stopped, just like that. As soon as little Tara felt the soft curve of Rohi's arm and the warmth of her silk-wrapped chest, the child hiccuped, whimpered once, then nuzzled in quietly. The man, still dripping wet by the doorway, watched in stunned silence. Chishi. She's never calmed that fast before, he whispered. Rohi didn't answer right away. She walked slowly toward the kitchen island, rocking the baby gently in her arms as if she'd done this before. Her touch was precise, rhythmic, familiar. She's cold and hungry, but not scared anymore, murmured. She glanced at the man, really looked at him now. His shirt was frayed, his shoes were cheap. His hands, though, large, calloused, were gentle when they'd handed Tara over. A worker, a father, a fighter. What's your name? She asked softly. Karen? Exactly, a Karen. Karen Thacker. And you clean apartments? When I can find work, yes. Construction during the day. Sometimes delivery runs at night. I've been alone with her since her mother passed after childbirth. Robi blinked. Something inside her broke open at that sentence. You've been raising her. Alone, yes. She's all I have. She warmed cow's milk, not ideal for a newborn she knew, but she added a little bit of formula powder from an emergency tin she had buried in her cabinet. Here, she said, handing him a bottle. Try this. Slowly. Let her sip. Slowly. Let her sip. Karen took the bottle, his hands shaking slightly. Tara latched on almost immediately. The sound of her content sucking filled the room like music. Karen sighed in relief, shoulders collapsing under the weight he didn't know he'd been carrying. Thank you, he said. You don't know what this means, Anto. And maybe I do, Arohi said softly, her eyes not leaving Tara. They sat across from each other on the sofa now, Tara between them asleep. You said earlier, Karen spoke, you've done this before, Rohi hesitated. Yes. She didn't elaborate. She didn't elaborate. Because how do you explain the things you've buried? How do you tell a stranger that you once had a baby too? That your child never got to grow up? That you buried your grief under money, investments, charity galas, and designer masks? So instead, she said, I used to volunteer in Miku with newborns years ago. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was comforting, like two tired souls had finally stopped running. Karen looked around, clearly taking in the luxury of her space now, the polished marble, the velvet chairs, the gold-trimmed artwork. You live here alone? Yes. This whole place? Yes. He blinked. You're rich. She shrugged. Money doesn't matter at 4 a.m. when a baby needs milk. Just before he left, Arohi walked him to the door. Come back tomorrow. I have extra formula. In clothes she might fit into. He looked torn. I can't take charity. Soy. It's not charity, she said. It's what a mother would do. Even if she isn't one anymore. That sentence hung in the air. Karen met her eyes. Something deep and unspoken passed between them. He nodded and left. But neither of them knew that this was only the beginning. Tiki. Rory stood at the window long after Corin left, the city still cloaked in the gray hush of dawn. She should have gone back to sleep. But something about that child's soft breaths against her chest, the weight of her, the warmth, it lingered. She hadn't held a baby like that since she shook the memory off like cold rain. The next day, Rohi didn't expect him to return. Men like Karen didn't ask twice. Pride was often stronger than hunger. But at exactly 7 p.m., her doorbell rang. She opened it to find him holding Tara again, cleaner now, dressed in a secondhand onesie. She smiled today, he said before she could speak. A first time. He brought her a box of sweets from a roadside vendor. You know it's not much, but I didn't want to come empty-handed. You brought the baby. That's more than enough. This time, she didn't just give him formula. She brought out a folded pile of baby clothes, still fresh, barely used. Karen hesitated. These look expensive. They were my daughter's. Silence. He didn't press, but his eyes softened. What happened? To her. Rose sat down, carefully choosing her words. She was born premature, lived 6 days. The hospital called her baby Maida on the file. I named her Dia. Karen didn't say I'm sorry. He didn't have to. He simply sat beside her, his baby asleep on his shoulder. And they stayed like that for a long time. Two strangers bound not by romance, but by loss. Need empathy. That week, he came by 3 more times. Each visit less awkward, more familiar. He helped her fix a cabinet door. She taught him how to warm formula safely. They laughed once when Tara threw up on his shirt and he panicked like it was acid. You're not a bad father, Rohai said, wiping his shoulder. You're just alone. Sometimes I think I don't deserve her, he admitted quietly. Then that's exactly why you do. He looked at her differently that day. Not like a rich woman, not like a stranger who helped, but like a woman who understood him. And as the sky dimmed and Tara dozed off in Rohi's arms again, he asked the question he'd been holding for days. Why are you alone in this big place? She answered without flinching. Because for a long time, I thought I didn't deserve anyone either. Mumbai doesn't knock politely when it rains. It crashes, pours, and drowns the streets in seconds. And that night, as thunder rolled in like a warning, Rohi stood by her window, already knowing what it meant. Karen wasn't going home. She heard the doorbell around 9:43 p.m. There he was, drenched again, this time with a small travel bag and Tara wrapped up tightly against his chest. I'm sorry, he said, rain dripping from his hair. The trains are flooded. Buses stopped. Her clothes were getting soaked. Rohi stepped aside wordlessly. You'll both stay tonight, she said. She found them towels. Dry clothes. Pajamas that didn't fit perfectly but would do. Tara was restless. Her tiny fists curled and kicked as she cried with the frustration only infants understand. Rohi didn't even hesitate. She reached out for her. Held her again. She had stopped counting the moment she'd done that now. Karen watched, wide-eyed and soft. She likes you, he said. She reminds me of someone, Rohi replied. By midnight, Tara was finally asleep, nestled in the center of Rohi's bed, surrounded by soft pillows. Karen stood in the doorway, watching his daughter sleep in a place that looked like a dream, clean, warm, rich. She's gonna grow up and think this is normal, he said, trying to joke. Oh, wait till she sees our flat. Rohi looked up from where she sat beside Tara. Then maybe she should grow up thinking she deserves this. Later, over cups of chai in the kitchen, the conversation grew more personal. You always talk like money doesn't matter, Karen said. Because it doesn't, Rohi answered. At least not after you've lost something that no money could ever buy back. Your daughter? And the man who left when she died. Karen froze. He left you after that? He became a ghost of who I was, and he said he couldn't love someone who wouldn't move on, so I let him go. She laughed bitterly. It's funny, I have everything, cars, property, investments, but for years I didn't have one person who would knock on my door at 4 a.m. for help. Karen was silent for a long time, then softly, now you do. He stayed on the couch that night. Gross stayed up too long, but something was different when they crossed paths in the hallway. Barefoot, tired, gentle. It wasn't attraction. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was something deeper. Trust, respect, a flicker of healing. And somewhere between their silences and soft glances, the beginning of something neither of them was ready for. but maybe exactly what they needed. The world outside didn't wait quietly. It never does. For weeks, Karen and Tara had returned to Aruhi's apartment in bits. Sometimes for formula, sometimes for warmth, sometimes just for quiet safety. And slowly, gently, a rhythm had formed. But comfort has a way of drawing attention. And in a city like Mumbai, people watch. It began with a whisper in the elevator. A nosy woman in a silk saree leaned toward Aruhi one morning and said, "That's the cleaning boy's baby, isn't it? The one who keeps coming to your flat?" Rohi looked her dead in the eye and replied, "Yes. And she's welcome here at any time." The woman blinked, taken aback. "Well, it's just people are starting to wonder, you being alone and him being, Vera smiled, cold and calm. "Hey, father? Hey, worker?" "That's funny," she said. "I thought love didn't come with a salary bracket." She left the elevator without another word. But outside words had their way of sneaking into the cracks. Karen noticed. When he came by the next evening, he didn't come inside right away. He stood at the doorway, Tara in his arms, his face unusually still. "He heard what your neighbor said," he began. "People are starting to talk." Murray leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. "Let them." "You shouldn't be tied to someone like me." Not publicly. Her eyes narrowed. "Tied to you? You're a millionaire, Rohi. You live in a world of investors and art shows, and I bring nothing but diapers and debt." She stepped forward, voice low. "You brought life into my home, laughter, hope, and scandal. Let me ask you something," she said. "What would you do if I wasn't rich?" He hesitated. "I'd probably still be here." "Then don't make me pay for something I never asked for." Later that night, they sat together on the floor again, Tara asleep beside them. And Karen finally asked the question that had sat between them for weeks. Why do you do all this for her?" "Because once I needed someone to do it for me, and no one did." "But why me?" She looked at him. "Because you didn't run. Even when the city turned its back, even when your hands were raw from working all day, you never gave up on her. You remind me of the kind of love I lost." A pause, a breath. "And then, but I'm scared," he admitted. "Scared of feeling something for you when I have nothing to give." "Then give me this moment," Rohi whispered. "That's all I'm asking." That night, they sat shoulder to shoulder. No kiss, no grand confession, just two souls, finally sitting in their truth. In Tara, she slept peacefully in a world that, for the first time, felt like home. 1 week passed, then another, and just when things felt steady, when it seemed like Tara had two homes, one made of struggle and one made of silent love, life did what it always does. It tested them. Karen stood at Rohi's door, holding a letter in his hand. She opened it with a soft smile. But her smile faded when she saw his face. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I got a job," he said quietly. "A real one." He handed her the letter. It was from a nonprofit organization based in Hyderabad, offering him a full-time position as a logistics coordinator, housing, salary, daycare for Tara. Stability, safety, a future. "That's good," she said, voice even. "It is. And you leave when? A Monday?" The silence was heavy. She didn't cry. He didn't ask her to. "I thought you wanted me to build a life," he finally said. "I do," she replied. "I do," she replied. "I just didn't expect to not be part of it." And Rory? No, she cut him off gently. "This is what's right for her, for you. And I won't be the reason you stay behind." She turned away, picking up a toy from the floor. Her hands shook slightly. "I'll pack some things for her." That night, Karen stood in the guest room, staring at Tara asleep in the crib Ray had ordered just days ago. Everything in the room was hers. Clothes, formula, even a soft pink elephant she'd insisted on choosing herself. But none of that mattered, because the thing that mattered most wasn't something he could pack. It was the woman in the next room. He didn't sleep. Neither did she. At sunrise, she found him standing on the balcony. He turned as she approached. "You remember when I came here the first time?" he asked. "Of course." "You opened your door. No questions, no fear. I just saw a father," she said. "I know. You saw me. Not who I was. Not what I didn't have. Just me." He turned to face her fully. "I want this job, but I don't want to go alone, and I don't want to leave you behind. Karen, come with us." Rose stared. "I don't even know how to be part of something anymore." "Then let's figure it out. Together." She looked at him, at Tara curled in her crib, at the life that had tiptoed into her quiet world and torn it wide open. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in something impossible. Okay, she whispered. Yeah, yes. But I'm not going to hide her bad to rescue you. I know. I'm going for her, for you, for me, for me. Sparkle's epilogue 1 year later, Rowie now runs a small maternal health clinic in Hyderabad, funded privately, quietly. She never put her name on the sign. Karen works weekdays and writes on weekends. Stories about fathers, about sacrifice, about what it means to be seen. Devolo. Tara says her first word in the middle of a grocery store aisle. Ma, she says it looking at Rohi. And Karen, he doesn't say much. He just watches them with that same quiet look he had the night he knocked on her door, the night she changed everything.